know, nobody watches these videos, but sometimes it's just good to get something off my chest to, maybe a handful of people who'd appreciate it. But yeah, it's just something I've noticed in the ex-Mormon community. This now, before I get into it, this is not a criticism of this. This is merely me noticing a pattern within it and my analysis of that pattern. Now, I'm speaking mostly from, I'm the only person, well, other than my homosexual little brother, that has left the church that I know personally. So I don't have like a personal uh, anecdote to say about this. So this is mostly on the public side of it, with people like Zelph on the Shelf, Exmolex, new name Noah, Jimmy Snow, whatever his real name is. Because I know he's not Mr. Atheist, but I quit watching his stuff for the most part several months ago. But I still enjoy Zelph on the Shelf and Lexi. But one thing I've noticed is, I don't know what their political stance was prior to leaving the church, so I don't know if they were already left leaning, but as that was a rarity in Mormonism, I remember, both my grandpa and my father bringing up the fact that, as well as my best friend in high school, who was also a member, bringing it because he ended up having conservative values, even though both of his parents were Democrats. Saying that you can't really be a good member and be a Democrat. So it is, with Sam from Zelph on the Shelf, she's from England, so it's more likely her policies, her values were already more on the left. But it seems like everyone has just jumped right into being these uh, leftists, and without, I don't, like me. I worked my after the army. I went, pretty hard right. Just, I don't know. But after that, after the years, after having a family and all that, and get some more, just just pretty much just calming down. I guess one thing is, it's like that with the left. Anytime you're polarized to the extreme, you just kind of need something to hate, something to dislike. Well, maybe not on every case, but in my case, that was the reason why. Yes, Jim Beam root beer. But the point I was getting at is, it's like, why have these people, the names that I've put out there? Well, it's not just them. There's also people on Instagram, Outer Dankness, Mormon Enlightenment. Uh, there's a couple others I follow too. Oh, Non-Mormon Norman. Seems like all of them. I know they're all from the Utah. They're all from the bubble area. So are they jumping to the furthest extreme from Mormonism? Are they now just accepting everything that we taught was wrong is now right? Are they? But the thing that, those are all possibilities. But the one that I think most of is, are they still in that kind of cult-like collectivist, well, mentality of, I am still trying to prove to everyone I'm a good person. They are no longer in that same, being controlled by the cult of Mormonism, but at the same time, have they completely broken free of that need to prove that you are on the right side, on God's side, on the right side of history, however the fuck you want to put it. I don't like either of those. You know, I was questioning my dad's political beliefs when I was in junior high. Just because that is one of the things from the Mormon Church that I still bring, which is one of the reasons why I left it after getting just that little bit of information is I sought for truth. And with an with an intangible things such as faith, it's like it just overrode so much of it. But that's the thing. Attributing. I'm not trying to put beliefs into their mouths. But it's like, how many ex-Mormons? I mean, like I said, I'm a different story because one, I'm blue collar. Like I've said before, I'm blue collar, ex-military. So that's already put me in a completely different category to a lot of these people, as well as, I didn't grow up in a bubble. I grew up in small town Iowa. And so like I said, there's different pressures. There's different experiences that cannot completely be translated over to those that were raised in large Mormon populations. But it's like, yeah, and also the fact that I've left the church twice. First out of guilt and shame, and second, out of truth. And able to, I don't know, maybe it's like, that's the other thing. It's like some of these older ones, and I quit watching a lot of ex-Mormon, anti-Mormon, whatever you want to call it, stuff. I only follow Zelph and Exmolex on YouTube because they're entertaining. They're legitimately enjoyable. It's just like watching a Let's Play with James and Mike. It's just kind of nice to have that little pseudo group therapy. So that's the main reason why I listen to them anymore. But yeah, it's just, like I said, I guess my main thing is I worry that whether or not they're thinking for themselves. It's like one thing Jimmy brought up is that he went through this whole process of going, from the right to being more libertarian to now being far left. I don't know. He didn't really give his reasoning in the videos I've watched of him on why he did that. But as someone who claims to be an atheist, it seems as if he is not approaching things with the appropriate either education or the appropriate critical thought going into it, and just kind of sticking to what the population of whatever culture he is in right now says is the right thing. So it's the same thing as having a cult tell you. It's one reason why I would refuse to, like with a lot of my neighbors, put Black Lives Matter shit out in their front yards because they have to prove that they are, to everyone else, that they're a good person. It's, same thing as virtual signaling. It's not like a business saying, don't break my windows. When they put a BLM sign on every window instead of just like on just one. It's like, no, don't break my window. I refuse to do that because I won't have anyone else tell me what I need to do to be a good person. So that's just kind of what I see with these people, with, their public personas. I don't know. Their public personas and their private personas I don't think are too dissimilar. So I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm more concerned with whether or not they are truly being who they want to be, or are they still being manipulated by the cult by rebelling against it or fighting against it still, trying to, instead of, just taking a step back and, well, who knows, it might just be the fact that I have pretty severe depression and knowing I am unimportant in the greater scheme of things. And so I can step back a little bit easier because I know I am of little worth to the world. And so, and if they still think that they can save the world through their teachings, because like I said, the work ethic of Mormonism still will stay with me. You know, like we had the derecho. You know, I went out there right away with my daughters after the storm stopped, and we helped the neighborhood clear trees out of the street. You know, that's something that my dad taught me because it was part of Mormonism. Whether my dad would have taught me that, whether we would have had the social network for my dad to teach me that, because I don't know how many people have helped move when I was a teenager, but that was an important part of me growing up, and something I'm trying to pass on to my kids is also, I don't see them enough, but anyway, like I said, I'm not passing judgment. I'm just pulling out a conversation. So that's all I'm trying to get at. So, hail Satan.